to understand a little bit better about how you were able to create a course at Stanford. Surely that isn't the kind of opportunity that everybody gets, right? So, you're like, oh, yeah, I was doing this machine learning engineering or deep learning engineering, and people were asking me questions. So I was starting to write blog posts and writing things in GitHub. And then I realized I started to have a course. And so Stanford let me make a course.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? I guess from reviewing your LinkedIn profile, it looks like you had been an instructor of other courses, maybe that other people had created already at Stanford. So you kind of built up this reputation as an instructor.
So I do think that a lot of things is just I feel like so my friends I we talk so my friends I used to say that everyone who ends up in Silicon Valley has have have had a lot of luck, and I think that's true for me as well. So of course, like, it's not quite easy to like start a course at Stanford, but it's a lot easier if you already went to Stanford and knew the processes there, right?
Right.
So I think like for me, it started as so when I joined doing studying computer science, I started out as a section leader, which is more like of a teaching assistant role for an introductory CS course at Stanford. So I got to know like teaching. I thought I really enjoyed it. And then after that, Stanford has this very interesting concept that I actually knew from my friends. It's called a student initiated course. So like as a student you can initiate a course for and teach it if you get approval from the curriculum committee. So at first, so my first student initiated course was a TensorFlow course because for my sophomore summer I was interning as a machine learning engineer intern, and I got to know TensorFlow. I think TensorFlow was came out in like November 2015. So by 2016 there was not a lot of materials about it. So I thought it was really really useful as a tool. So I wanted to learn more about it. So I came back to my school and was like asked some of my professors like, hey, can you teach a course on it? And my professors were like, I don't have time. Like, why don't you teach a course on it? So they did help me like get the course on TensorFlow started. So that's how I learned about
So
the
you had
process of start a course.
you
Yeah.
created a TensorFlow course before your designing machine learning systems course.
Yeah, I think I did that when I was in college.
Wow, when you were an undergrad.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty steep learning curve because I was realizing I was at some point I felt like I was doing three jobs because I was doing my degree and then I was like being a teaching assistant for another
Hmm.
course and then teaching my
Hmm.
own course. So
Oh my goodness.
it was quite a little bit juggling, but I feel like I learned a lot. I would say that's the biggest thing I learned that I like is really deep cut in my flesh. Is this like tools get outdated very quickly. So I remember I built my course on TensorFlow, right? It was like TensorFlow 1.0, and at the time
Hmm.
nobody called it
Hmm.
1.0, right? But
Hmm.
then they changed to 2.0, and I
Hmm.
realized it's like if I want to teach the course again, I would have to like redo like
Hmm.
80% of my
Oh yeah.
tutorials. And I was just like, okay, tools just go in and out of fashion very quickly. Like, so I
Hmm.
chose not to focus on tools for my next course, but focus more on the fundamentals. And that's the same thing for my book. And I do get a lot of comments like if like from people like saying that, oh, there's not a lot of code snippets in the book. So yes, they are not like, it's not a tutorial book, so it's not going to teach you like how to use Flow, how to use whatever tools is in fashion nowadays. But it's more like asking a lot of questions to help you pick the right tools.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that the topic that you picked, this machine learning systems design, this is evergreen. Um,
I hope so. I mean, this art is like what is evergreen in the world is changing so fast nowadays.
I don't know. I think so. It's these kinds of principles that you cover in the book. I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon. And I can really empathize with what you went through because I got started in content creation by
Yeah.
creating a course about TensorFlow 1. And then had
Yeah.
to redo it all for TensorFlow 2. I did redo it all. Um, and I'm really happy to have had that experience,
Yeah.
but that is also why my second big content area is about the
Yeah.
mathematical foundations of machine learning, because I'm pretty confident that things like linear algebra, calculus, probability theory, that's not going to go away from machine learning. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do think that those are like good skills to acquire as well. I do think there's something like, for example, probability statistics. I think that
Mhm.
everyone should know more about it, regardless of whether you're doing machine learning or not, because like having a good understanding of probability does help a lot in choosing careers. For example, like some careers like returns follow more of the number distribution. So if you become like a teacher or software engineer, you might not like become super rich, but you won't become like super poor, right? But like some careers like writing, like being artist, follow more of the long tail distribution. So like only a
Right.
few people will actually make it. So having a good understanding of that also very helps. Also helps a lot. Or like I think I wrote a post on like how to apply statistics into life. Another is like how to the view on luck. So it does taught me a lot like how to be humble, because so like one example, right, like you have a lot of if you deal 1,000 people 2 cards, right, so this is just by random chance some of them will end up with 2 aces, right, so like you don't have to do anything, it's a pure
Right.
chance. So we do
Right.
see a lot of people just like succeed just by pure chance. Like some, like for
Mhm.
example, like a lot of people have ideas about social media, social network, but some of them will emerge to be like successful. And everything is like I'm not gonna dismiss like the success of other people, but I do say there's a big component of luck in it.
Yeah, for sure. But as you say, you can make decisions that take advantage of those probabilities. So, for example, you were talking about how a career like being a software engineer,
Yeah,
the compensation is kind of like a normal distribution, whereas
yeah,
something like being a writer or a content creator, there's a very long tail on the distribution.
yeah,
And so then you could be quite strategic. You could say, okay, I'm going to have my stable software engineering job. I'm
yeah,
going to commit to doing that for, for my 8 hours a day, and then
yeah,
I'm gonna have my 2 to 4 hours a day in the evening or weekends or whatever
yeah.
to focus on my creative writing career and give myself a shot at that long tail.
Yeah, yeah. So I understanding the risk factors and like how to best like structure our life to like reduce the risk factors is like I think is a very useful knowledge to have.